All right, all right. I think we're back now. Yeah, we're back now. Okay. So, starting over here with the story. I know, way to go for fucking version 2.0. Yeah, I knocked myself off like a fucking meathead. But yeah, so I created the 5-person turmoil match, 4 opponents, 1 guy or whatever, stuff like that. And of course, one of the more important things here is that they have the vitality recovery between falls. I shit you not, right? Like, I did 2, maybe 3 test matches on this. And even though I gave Crane maximum attribute points and all 4 of the opponents minimum attribute points, although Kid Christian, I think, remained the same, but he only had, like, 40, something, 42 maybe, right? So he had more than all the other guys that had, like, 30 at a minimum or whatever, right? And so Crane, goes fucking 13 minutes with Traveling Brandon Wilbury. And, man, like, even, like, in the test matches and stuff like that, Traveling Brandon Wilbury with minimum attribute points beat Crane with maximum attribute points. Every single fucking time. I never even got to see the other 3 guys to even see how they would interact with him or not, You're right. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second, Primetime. That was something that kind of came out of a lot of experimentation. But this one I don't put fucking finishers on. For most regular matches, I don't. But man, you could do a lot worse. Like trying to put together a Royal Rumble or something like that, than maybe giving them like 1 to 3 of the fucking possible finishers just to start the match or whatever and stuff. Because again, you never know how long these guys are going to last in these types of situations. So they got to go out there and as they say in the real world, maximize their minutes. All right, so where was the tag table match? Yeah. Here we go. Tag Iron Man table match. Yeah, so my approach to this one here, there it is, Iron Man, no pinfalls, of course, right? 20 minutes, I think, is really the operative thing here that creates the drama, probably more than anything else and stuff, because you saw it in the match yesterday between the Bones Enterprises, Primetime and W Styles, and the Core, Kyle Empire and Adrian Knight. And man, Adrian Knight, the fact that Sanders and Styles won that match, in spite of how good Adrian Knight was throughout that match, that really made all the difference in the world or whatever. Kyle Empire, who's far more decorated than anyone else as far as the MVWF is concerned in that ring, was almost a non-factor throughout or whatever. But both the champions, to their credit, scored 2 of the first points. And for the rest of the match, man, you had your story from that point forward. Like, will they or won't they? Styles and Sanders had to find a way to recover. And every little bit they did to chip away at it and stuff like that basically made that clock winding down like a death sentence, right? Like, they say at the end of the original Star Wars movie that in the script, the Death Star is coming up on Yavin 4, and they're doing, the dog fighting and stuff like that, and all the it's like a World War II movie, and it's all just airplanes shooting at each other or whatever. But I guess before the movie was even crafted together in the editing room, one of the things they decided to do in the editing room was to have a standing clock going. It's like, all right, so the Death Star is on the other side of the big planet or whatever. It's got to go around it so it can get its shot, right? And so it had a half an hour in movie time, for it to get the job done. And so it creates a sense of urgency in such a way that really goes a long way towards creating drama and pressure and excitement in your match. And this is one note. Nope, I'm not doing finishers and stuff like that. This one, if there was anyone that I might be somewhat open to maybe even trying or whatever and stuff, it might be one or whatever. But my fear is that if the bell rings. There's 20 minutes still on the clock, and everyone just starts hitting finishers and stuff like that. Well, there's not going to be any tables in the ring, or maybe they'll just go for tables and start scoring points right away, which I'm not entirely opposed to. But you have to wonder how organic it's going to look. And by the way, for those of you that were paying attention yesterday, and might have been here for the last weekend's tutorial where I was I was going in to Beast's move set, and I was assigning moves in that new feature that's on there where you can have them done once a match, late in the match, early in the match. Early in the match is a flurry, late in the match is a flurry, or you can kind of make it where it's less a hard setting, but more of a preference sort of thing or whatever, which still leaves things kind of open to being almost interpreted the same way that it would be if you had just left everything alone, And in some cases, I did think that. But man, if you watch the Jeremy Beast match from yesterday, and you could see, no, it was not Beast and Jeremy, it was Beast and Braun Char, Jeremy's tag team partner. And DeBeast, at the end of the match, had the last couple of moments, he had clearly had the match, in the palm of his hand. And he wanted a trifecta of swantons. A big top rope move, done not once, not twice, but 3 times. And the first time he tried to do it, he missed the third. So I learned a couple of things when that happened. First off, each move is still treated like a single move, right? So if it's going into the flurry, it's not obligated to complete the flurry of matches. So, of course, when DeBeast hits 1 and then 2, and then he goes up to a third time to make a statement, and he misses making that statement, what he does next is fucking amazing, because he went and did it again and wasn't satisfied until he hit the trifecta and then fucking pinned that guy. And there he made the statement right there. Man, I'm sounding like a fucking pirate all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? I actually saw the deliberate. I mean, because again, I didn't. For every move that I had in his move set that I could have done that to, I didn't do it to all of them. I left all the submission moves alone. I mean, entirely. I also, another thing I did in there that I thought was somewhat reflective of it is that, sometimes I would just let him do, when it came to, those type of high spots where, if you're doing, a springboard from the ropes to the outside or whatever, I don't want to see that twice in a match. You know what I mean? And normally I wouldn't want to see someone doing a swanton 3 fucking times, or almost an aggregated. He almost did it about 12 times until he finally hit the trio of them. And so it was a little bit, almost a little bit of too much or whatever. So I might go and change the setting on that match to make it less make it maybe just more of a preference for later in the match rather than something he absolutely has to do. You know what I mean? Because there's also that setting too where he has to do it at least one time during the match or whatever, mandatory. Because you can because there's a pecking order, there's a frequency. And there's a preference during a period of time during the match of which you can choose it or whatever. Man, it really paid off in that match right there with Braun Char for Beast there. And it made for a very unique looking match in the way that it really played out compared to a lot of the stuff, man, that I've seen here. The Ultimate 2. Let's look at this one here. Big old gauntlet. 20 entrants. This was its own show. This one whole match. Pinner submissions. This kind of thing. If I had 30, I might turn the knockouts on. Knockouts are strange. I don't have a strong feeling on it or whatever. The way the knockouts play out sometimes on here. But it is kind of the key to, if you want to get that animation where the ring will collapse. Excuse me. Yeah, we've had exactly one ring collapse by simulation going back several years ago, and it was a knockouts only match. Ryan Doyle against AJ the Giant, and he suplexed the Giant off the top rope, and thankfully it was a Giant when it happened, so the selling of it really worked, you know. But yeah, the gauntlet here. So 20 entrants and stuff like that. I mean, it's you know, I mean, I've got some settings here that I don't recall. Vitality, recovery between falls and stuff like that. Man, I'll tell you what, entrance intervals was 5 minutes apart. Right? So only 20 competitors, 5 minutes apart. 5 minutes, you know, 20 competitors. I mean, you do the math on there, up to 8 in the ring. Now, of course, the intervals, even at 5 minutes, will start lengthening and stuff like that if everyone out... I mean, if a ring really gets full, and, you know what I mean? Like, no one's really going to be saving anybody out there. And I guess for some reason I went medium on this here. Yeah, again, I don't have a vitality off between falls. I have no idea what the fuck would happen if, like, you did that in this scenario here. So let's just try and, like, ponder over that for a second. Right, because you think about this one here in terms of, like, a 2 out of 3 falls match or something like that, right? And the 2 out of 3 falls match, like, if you turned it off between, like, man, they would be as beaten down as they were when the bell rang, you know, for the first fall. But if you give them a little bit of recovery between, so I guess maybe everyone might get a boost if once someone makes an entrance. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think I'm onto something here? I mean, that's the only way I can really. It's the only way I can think it can, as far as defining it in some way, that this is how it affects the game. But yeah, so again, ultimately, all I'm trying to do here is some analysis on, you know, each little setting that you can, the way that you can tweak things and stuff like that. I mean, because, guys, I'll tell you what, like, I mean, whatever Beast is doing, yeah, I got finishers on for this one to start. Because, again, this is kind of like a Rumble-style sort of thing. So someone wants to make an entrance and shit, you want them to come in and immediately make a splash. That, at least, has kind of remained consistent here. And, of course, there's all the weapons and stuff like that, right? So I got one Janus, one light tube, couple of barbed wire bats, a table, a chair. Yeah. The ultimate. All right, so you know, one of the things that really helped me as far as getting actual performance out of a Hell in the Cell match was finding a way to make the cell match last long enough for them to break through the wall, and that was all I really thought about it. All right, so like if you see down here, I've got a cell block match. It's a 6-minute time limit, 2 out of 3 falls. I'll tell you what, the most impressive thing I've seen any of these games do as far as like solving that problem was my match with Andrew Dubbs over at EWF, because that match wasn't even an Iron Man match, right? Like if you go back to Match 4 Mania, the Rock Holly Selesky match does end up on top of the cell, and the finish is somewhat determined by someone going through the ceiling, which is still a bit of a problem. I mean, the big negatives about the Hell in the Cell matches, as we call them, cell block matches, is getting them to do all of the fucking big stunts that are associated with it, like, say, getting someone to actually throw someone off a ledge. Now, you've got all those ledge moves, and those ledge moves are the ones that are supposed to be done, like, even if they're on the edge of the stage or if they're on the edge of the Hell in the Cell. And they never do it. Like, you can actually get someone to get all wobbly-legged and fucking accidentally fall off the fucking thing. And you can throw them off the side of the wall if you're both up there about at the same height with each other. And you get a nice big bump out of that. And those things tend to happen, sure, right? Assuming that you can get the fucking brawling that needs to take place at ringside not to go on too long before someone actually breaks through the wall, which was really the real big achievement of that WrestleMania match against me and Andrew Dubbs. Because ultimately, other than that, what I ended up having to do in a lot of cases was to make it a 30-minute, at least a 30-minute Iron Man match, to buy them enough time on the clock to not have to have a finish while they're in the cell, to give them enough time to spill outside the ring, and break through the cage wall, which basically takes like, all it takes is like maybe 3 hits into the cage wall or whatever, and they go through it or whatever. And then once somebody goes through it or whatever, like then the person who put them through the cage, so the person who went through the cage is selling on the floor or whatever. And then it seems like the AI almost has like a little like cutscene animation that forces them to step outside the fucking cage. And once they're outside the cage, all they want to do is climb that fucking cage. And again, like, you get the big climb, and the climb is really dramatic, and if you're using the live camera, you can get some dramatic camera angles on it. Mwah, chef's kiss, right? And so recently, the cell block matches, the Hell in the Cell matches, they've been really good, because I had a good match at WrestleMania doing that. I had a good match in the NWA with crushing Kelly Black, and we went to the top of the cage, but we'd already had a good match by the time that we got up into the cage. And we went up there with like 90 seconds left. This was different, right? I'm like, man, we're going to go up there. We're not really going to get anything done or anything like that. Nope, we got some shit done. We squeezed a lot into 90 seconds in the finish of that match. And with the last few seconds of the match whittling down, and I hit her with the moon stomp that fucking sends her flipping. I mean, it totally looked like I knocked her out at the last possible second, even though that wasn't really the point of the match. The match was scored via, it was like finishers only, which also made it a very unique approach, which I didn't, by the way, like. So, credit to Crushing Kelly Black. I mean, we're not going to ever be friends. Don't get me wrong here, folks. But I mean, and I did not like her idea when she had essentially kind of negotiated this match without any of my involvement or anything like that. I think the only say I really had, because just to get some say in it, was that it was an NWA National Heavyweight Championship title match. So I got a successful title defense out of it, at least, or whatever, to add to my record. So I probably had like 5 successful title defenses, I think, for my entire NWA title reign. Which, by the way, I did the calculations on actually just this morning, just so I could like talk shit to Dragonheart this morning, and I calculated that my NWA National Heavyweight Championship title reign was 354 days. Booyakasha! So otherwise here, so like some of my normal matches and stuff like that, yeah, man, like the MVWF back in the day basically was like an ECW style hardcore fit. I mean, there were no disqualifications. Falls always counted everywhere, and shit like that. And the 64 games, and then I think I tightened the rules up by the time that we got through the GameCube games. And that is really like the bulk of the MVWF's existence, is the 5 games I want to say I used. No, wait. There was a period. There was a PS2 game. It was like a SmackDown versus Raw game where we did a lot of like really good like morphing stuff or whatever to create some really like deformed fucking characters or whatever and stuff. But it was also a really unique game, is that it had like all the haircuts for each member of the Ramones. So there, we had actually created like Johnny and all the fucking Ramones. We made them. They had the fucking awesome Ramones haircuts with the fucking awning like fucking bangs hanging over their eyes and just yeah. So anyway, so yeah, normal matches are just normal matches, man. There's not really much that you can say about any of that shit or whatever and stuff like that, other than you just kind of give it what you think it needs, So, and it's nice that you have the option of doing Ironman matches here as a tack on or as an overall choice that you modify everything after that. But generally, I like to have a 30-minute time limit or whatever. Now, booking-wise, too, keep in mind, I also have another very normal rules match that you should pay attention to here as well. And that's a little further on down here. It's the Curtain Jerker. The Curtain Jerker is the same fucking rules, only it has a 15-minute time limit. All right, and of course, I like to use these in the undercard. So the opening match, chances are, I mean, if I'm introducing somebody and I'm giving you somebody off of the Dark Horsemen or the Job Squad, if you will, all my guys with like lower attribute points and stuff like that, if you can't beat one of those guys in 15 minutes, I mean, that's going to affect how you're fucking booked from this point forward. So congratulations, you're going to be duking it out with a lot of the jobbers for a while until you finally show somebody that you can actually beat them. But otherwise, DQs, rope breaks, 20 counts outside the ring, which of course is the standard in the MVWF. Falls count anywhere, not a standard or whatever. Run-ins are on here and stuff like that, but then, the universe mode never really fucking applies to any of that shit. So this is all basically just stuff that would be in play mode, I suppose. Finishers, no, because again, I want like a regular match, right? I mean, again, like if the bell were to ring and someone Stone Cold Steve Austin were to go out there and a kick wham stunner, that's one thing, but you do that like, once in a blue moon. You don't do it as a standard setting. So we don't really need to change anything here. Yep. I'm gonna sneeze, hold on. Achoo! God damn. I Quit Twice match. I Quit Twice match was kind of my solution to not having an I Quit match. Again, the 2K26 coming out with the referee sticking a microphone in your face and they don't say anything or say I quit or anything like that. I mean, I don't really need that. That doesn't really do anything for me or whatever. So I was like, all right, well, fuck it then. Maybe, seeing as that I used to have a very strict submissions division, and I'm thinking about doing a very strict hard rules submissions tournament some kind, maybe a Brazilian Cup, if you will. But the I Quit match is almost like the inverse of that, because yes, it's a submission of sorts or whatever, but it's always been fucking wild, right? So all the weapons and things should be included. So the disqualifications are, well, it's extreme rules, so disqualifications are probably just like completely shaded out here if I'm going to go on to the next. But 2 out of 3 falls, make them go out there, and again, this is a great way right here between these two choices right here. To get a nice lengthy match, man, because the first I Quit Twice match was the very first time that G-Man Ryan Crawford ever beat Dennis Take a Hit Man Hart, and it took him 37 minutes to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, like a long-standing feud needs a long fucking match, a big-time epic in order to blow it off. You know what I mean? And to make the achievement, of the first time win really mean something, as opposed to, like, say, Dennis has the upper hand throughout the entire feud. He wins all the matches and stuff like that. And the ones he doesn't win, he doesn't get pinned or submitted or anything like that, or knocked out or anything like that. But he makes him quit twice after going the epic 37 minutes. Well, and again, after that, those two did not really need to wrestle each other anymore. That was absolutely the blow off of the feud. So even though Dennis and the ratio of like the win losses versus each other and stuff like that still doesn't favor the guy that won the blow off match, but he did win the blow off match to end the feud and finally achieve the thing that everyone said that he couldn't achieve, and thus your story got told. I don't know, am I still online? Did I get knocked offline again? Did I get interrupted there? I don't know. My the iPad that I use to monitor the chat. It seems to say I'm still online. Ah, all right. I am still alive. Okay. All right, so where was I? Oh yeah, so the I Quit Twice match. Of course, you're gonna need a 60-minute time limit for that shit. Honestly, when I put that match together that first time, I thought I'd get at least 20 minutes out of it or whatever, but I did not realize that I actually was going to get 37 out of it. And I think I might have had another one that's actually went about maybe a little longer than maybe a little over 40 minutes or whatever. But yeah, man, that shit was fucking great. Like, it really gave me what I needed to blow off that feud, and just the right time to do it too. And of course, again, like a regular match, they're not going to go out there and just start hitting the fucking moves on each other and shit in that sort of situation. And of course, you give them all the fucking weapons that they can shove up each other's ass. I Quit Twice. I also have NWA rules on here. NWA rules. No, I didn't miss much, Beast. For maybe 20 seconds ago, I was pondering whether or not I actually gotten knocked offline or not, but as it turns out, I was just being fucking paranoid. But yeah, I was talking about some of the reasons why I choose the rules that I do, and I just went over the I Quit Twice match. 60-minute time limit, 2 out of 3 falls, being that I don't like the I Quit concept of, say, what's coming back in 2K26, where the referee doesn't say anything, just sticks a microphone in your face, the character themselves won't have your voice, even if it did say anything, and so I don't really like that shit. So to kind of improve that, you have to understand that it's submissions only, like a submissions match here, but it's no DQ, or rather it's Extreme Rules, right? So the portal through all of this is the Extreme Rules thing here, right? Right, so I went through Extreme Rules here rather than going normal and making it no DQ, right? Because submissions matches in the MVWF are very, very strict rules. I mean, I'm talking 10 counts outside the ring, rope breaks are on, no fucking shenanigans, no plunder, no cheating, or anything like that. I Quit match is that, but turned upside down, in that it really has to be anything fucking goes, right? So you'll get 2 out of 3 falls just to make sure that if you're using, because this is the kind of match that I've used historically, like a Hell in a Cell match, to blow off a feud. And boom, boy did it, right? So no 60-minute time limit. I must have switched that by mistake, because that's supposed to be 60-minute time limit. Again, you want to give them some time, and again, being that it's the rules are out the fucking window here, you might as well make it falls count anywhere, right? Because again, you're not really trying to make a statement about the good wrestling that you're about to see, like you would if you were to turn this off and force them to get back into the ring where everyone can see it. You want to enhance the whole brawl aspect or whatever, because again, the quitting is supposed to be because of the pain, because you can't take it anymore. You don't get that kind of vibe out of a submissions match where things are supposed to be about grappling and the science and, being just an all-around good wrestler or whatever, right? So we saw a match yesterday. This was the 8-way, yes, this one right here, the 8-man tag team, 60-minute, no DQ or whatever. And that match, much to my surprise, it's 4-on-4. In this kind of situation where you've got so many guys, and on top of that, now keep in mind, this is a new dimension that I'm really going to try and introduce right here. So check this out, right? Again, one of the problems that you can run into in a situation like this is that, you got so much stamina out there and so many guys that could be available to, to goal keep, and break up pins and stuff like that. I mean, man, these matches could go on way, way too long. So in this case here, yeah, I'm turning knockouts on in this case. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've got to have it. Because, again, one of those things that I'm doing when I'm putting so many people in an 8-man tag is that I'm hiding people out there. Yeah, one person is probably going to eat shit and take the fall, but not everybody. But I also, so DQs are off here, so I allow them to use some weapons. Rope breaks are on, and countouts are on. Because, again, I want someone to get knocked the fuck out. I want someone to get that extra damage to increase the chance of a 3 count or a submission of some sort or a knockout, so that I get what is essentially like an 8-man tag. I mean, again, it's not always going to be the all-star game, right? Now, if you put like an 8-man tag in the main event, then maybe you might want to modify some of these fucking rules here and stuff like that. Because, again, chances are, if you've got a bunch of main eventers, chances are, I mean, you're rolling the dice on it going to a 60-minute time limit. Just saying, right? So, honestly, I mean, booking-wise, if you do a lot of shows, I wouldn't do too many of these. But as you can see, these rules here are set up in such a way to get the match over with. You get everybody on the show, because, I mean, that's 8 fucking names right there. That you, I mean, if you can get that shit done in like 10 to 15 minutes and stuff like that, you will have highlighted it. Everybody would have, there was enough time to get everybody in the match at some point or another. And if you actually get somebody, I mean, or at least you will have whittled it down to where if there was somebody who didn't get into the match, you can make something of that too. It's like, oh, well, they were giving everybody the alligator arm, you know, they'd be in a pussy, like they're not getting into the match or whatever and stuff like that. Like, how do the other 3 think about that? And maybe you can create some drama out of that. But ultimately, you know, you'll get a chance where everybody will get inside the ring or whatever. They'll do a few things and shit like that. And hopefully if you can get it done in under 20 minutes and stuff like that, everybody will have gotten a highlight or whatever. One person will have taken a loss. A bunch of guys get to say they won something. And 3 guys out of that still kind of remain neutral out of that. So, you know, I mean, or at least a little more, at least a little less than a loss is all I'm saying, you know? And again, I don't do, well, I guess I give him a finisher here and stuff like that, because again, this is a highlight reel right here, this kind of match. Default health, medium, I give him medium. Okay. I think I only really generated this match here like maybe about like a week or 2 ago. So I'm a little surprised that I forgot about the medium thing and stuff, but it explains why Ron Awesome went down so easy. Yeah, all right, so hey, we're all learning here together today. So I'm gonna say, yeah, man, like if you're gonna have an 8-man match, because again, my philosophy is that once your fucking attribute points are made for your particular character, I don't want to fucking have to touch them ever again. And again, my philosophy about that is also is still consistent with I like to max out all the defense, and I like to try and minimize to a degree the offense. You know, and then things like speed are going to be more for cruiserweights and lower for heavyweights. Everybody has to have a weakness. And weaknesses are character building. And the weapons are as you wish. See, now I really like, I even though I'd kind of forgotten, I'm really liking what I'd really applied here and what I got out of that 8-man tag that I did yesterday. So perhaps you might see this format a little bit more frequently here in the MVWF, because, man, it'll get a lot of guys and names onto the show and stuff like that could go and do some things and create some fucking rivalries and stuff like that I can maybe do, you know, then and later afterwards assign some singles matches out of it or whatever, just because you happen to rub somebody the wrong fucking way. 4-way cage match here. Let's take a look at this here. I don't recall. So it's a fatal 4-way, and I went in here with both just pins and submissions. And I have climb out of the cage, fucking off. I gotta say, I'm largely the kind of guy that doesn't do matches where I was never a fan of that as a kid in the old WWF. I did not like the big blue bar cage that they used, like on Saturday Night's Main Event back in the day. I think that shit sucks. I think the fence is way better. That being said, I also do understand that from a television and visual standpoint, that I think that the bar cage might be better for cameras. But I also think that it also lessens the, I don't know, the threatening nature of the cage itself, you know, for fear of, like, being cut on or whatever. So I've got 60-minute time limit here. There isn't a lot that I could do there. But in a Fatal 4-Way, they're definitely going to need some time. But honestly, if I'm doing a Fatal 4-Way, I kind of don't want that match going more than half an hour. So this might be... there's the fucking blue cage. I think I should just, like, spite myself and just put the fucking blue cage on there right now. Fuck you, Braided Bones, you piece of shit. The black cage I thought was good. They only really used that, like, a couple of times, like at St. Valentine's Day Massacre when Vince went off the cage. They didn't really use that cage that much. But, of course, this could be the kind of thing where... I'm going back to the scrap trap. The MVWF has always preferred the scrap trap. Our cage is fucking janky and junky as hell, baby. I don't know, man. Maybe this is the kind of thing where if it's a 4-way... I mean, if you've got multi-man matches, this is really one I have not spent a lot of time thinking about here. Is this setting right here. Because, again... I've always just kind of like relaxed on the idea that I just kind of want to keep it as everyone is as powerful as possibly I can make them. But this isn't something that's in the individual settings, so yeah, that's not. You know what? I'm gonna give them a finisher to start too. I think I'm just going to do it just to be a little different, you know? I mean, because if... hold on, is it elimination? It doesn't... No, it looks like it's... It doesn't give it an elimination option, I can tell. Oh, you saw me change my mind about something. Okay. What else do I got here? I'm almost just about out of gas here. 5-way brawl. This one I think is fairly self-explanatory. Like, I put the knockouts on for this one here. I've used this maybe twice now. This was the opener on night 1 of Match Mania 777. Atticus Black won it. But yeah, multi-man matches, I mean, KOs, it's elimination as well, and I've got the pressure on for them to get it done in 30 minutes, so yeah, you know I'm fucking leaving Falls Count Anywhere and knockouts on, because, man, someone takes a pile driver on the floor and shit like that, which is generally the thing that gets it done, yeah, you know what I'm saying? But in this case and stuff like that, I do kind of want them, I want the bigger moves still to be done I want the finishers to be, in this kind of scenario, the finishers to be a reason why someone beats somebody so that it gets their finisher over. Because, again, in this kind of scenario where you've got 5 guys now, the oddball number there, and, of course, you're really not going to do a lot of championship matches in this kind of scenario because, again, you don't want this to be so fucking random. You don't want it to be so random here. I mean, so that if someone doesn't win the match, you know, but if they get like an elimination or 2 on it, they'll get that elimination for a memorable reason, which be because they hit their finisher. Shit like that, you know? Apparently, I do not like the mannequin arm, but maybe I threw it out there just for there to be something kind of unique here. This will probably be the only match I ever use the mannequin arm for, but it'll be something different to see on TV here, and also a way to maybe have something a little bit different happen in the match that isn't always about like making the most maximum damage and shit like that. Maybe a comedy spot, you know. And that's the gist of it. So, pins, submissions, no. So, this brings up something here that I have not really had much of a chance to really tackle here and stuff, and I don't know how I feel about it. But, I mean, if you have this multi-man match here and stuff like that, but you have the option of turning 2 out of 3 falls on, I guess the first person to get 2 falls? I don't know about that. I've never done a first blood match in any of these games because I don't like first blood matches in real life. I think I saw Dusty Rhodes versus Tully Blanchard. Maybe Great American Bash, I want to say. And I'll give him credit, right? Like, here's how the match went. Dusty Rhodes hit the bionic elbow and made Tully Blanchard bleed. But before the bell rang, Dusty got his hands on J.J. Dillon, hit him with the bionic elbow. Dillon did a blade job. He bled. He showed immediately that the bionic elbow was the thing to watch out for. And then they built the match around Tully dodging the bionic elbow of Dusty Rhodes. Still not an overall great match. It had a story, don't get me wrong. And eventually he got him with it. But yeah. 3-team ladder match. It's about what you expect. 3-way, 30-minute. You know, I mean, triple threat matches are basically just fucking, brawls anyway. So the bloodline rules here: 2 out of 3 falls. This does not always go the way that you think it does. Sometimes the match ends before anybody that could do a run-in here could actually make their way out there. And so I chose these rules here because I assembled this match to be the main event at night 2 of Matchmania 777. And so the plan is that like Dan Crane was going to the result was that Dan Crane, the match, like I said before, the match didn't, in every test match that I did in the This Is Your Life gauntlet, he lost before anyone else even came out, right? And I'd also done a couple of Bloodline rules matches and stuff like that, where just like randos kept running out there or whatever and stuff. But one thing that I did get right was that, like, by assigning all of your allies and tag team partners and managers and stuff like that in universe mode will actually, by default, increase the chances of the AI deciding that someone relevant or an actual friend of the character will run out in and defend them and fight in their favor. And so Crane, being the last-minute substitution to face the champion, went out there to go, and he eventually won the belt or whatever, but in the process, as he'd already had 4 opponents already earlier, the champion had him in the palm of his hand, and it almost looked like it was going to be a dud Matchmania match, when the rest of his faction, the entirety of his faction, ran out there and defended him. And the champion, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, his tag team partner, the Chronic Avenger, Rich Newell, came out. And then a couple of randos came out or whatever and stuff like that, which was fine. But they have their big brawl and stuff like that. But ultimately, I got what I wanted out of that, because the key to the whole thing is that making sure that you get every fucking I dotted and every T crossed as far as assigning allegiances and tag team partners and managers, and making sure that you create them as a tag team and you see them as a faction or whatever and stuff, right? So that the AI will select the right people to do the run-in, and that's how you make the Bloodline rules work match. Bloodline match rules work. Hold on. Let me fix my diction. You're in the smoke room, baby. Beast, don't do drugs. Be a good boy. But of course, all in the chat, drug beast. When I get drunk, I'm a beast. And again, this one, it's a main event. The climax has to come at the end. High health. So I'm not doing finishers at the beginning in this sort of scenario the way I would in a Rumble Royal, Battle Royal, fucking gauntlet type of thing. Prime Time, I really put a lot of thought into it, because again, like one detail will be reflected in another detail as far as your approach to it or whatever. So like when this episode of my Simfed tutorial was supposed to be, and it's been all focused on just the creation matches and stuff like that, and how I go into trying to, with my finger on the pulse of the game engine, trying to figure out like what I can get away with to get the most performance out of it. And so, trial and error and stuff like that. Like, man, I had no reason in the world to believe that I was going to get anything out of the Bloodline rules match that I had in the main event at Night 2, or the This Is Your Life gauntlet or whatever, because both those matches were new to me as far as simming them anyway. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to go, but I do like the idea of like having a complete riot breakout in the main event at Match Mania. So I was like, all right, well, let's do this. And to my surprise, from a distance, it almost looked like just like an 8-man tag out there, and just a brawl or whatever. But really, the camera makes the difference in the Bloodline rules match and stuff. Because if you notice very closely here, the camera, with all of those other guys out there, the automatic camera anyway, does not pay attention to them unless they get in the way of the camera. Right? So if they spill outside the ring and the two opponents that are actually in the match are all inside the ring and everyone's brawling outside the ring, the camera is going to be focused on the inside of the ring. And so from a production standpoint, that's a really good fact to know or whatever, Especially, so it really made it so much easier for me so that we didn't get it fucking twisted here, right? So that we can stay focused on the factor at hand. Yes, the exterior factors had this amazing influence on it. In fact, it had all of the influence on it, because Whiteside essentially won the World Championship by hitting the finishing move both in the second fall and the third fall for Dan Crane to win the title, even though he'd lost the first fall. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the MVWO, wrote their own fucking, their own story there at the end. And man, it was fucking chef's kiss the way that it fucking turned out. But you wouldn't have known it by the fucking test matches that I did. Yeah, the Honkster went out there, whooped his fucking ass. Tried to do the gauntlet match. Traveling Brandon Wilbury whooped his fucking ass. Like, it never made it past the first fucking guy, man. And then on the day, fucking the violins were in tune. And it did exactly what I needed it to do. And honestly, like, it's really gone on to because I really didn't do a lot of adjusting after the failures either, right? Because I mean, I sat here with my fucking philosopher's hat on, going like, oh, how do I, yeah, how am I gonna make this work here, right? Because I mean, I was kind of committed to it in my mind or whatever. I'd already told Crane that that's what I was doing for his retirement match, and in part it was kind of like his idea, but again, like it was his idea because he didn't even know that the game has even had gauntlet matches or whatever. But he goes, yeah, but if I could run some kind of gauntlet, I'm like, dude, fucking perfect, great idea, you know. And we'll do it. This is your lifestyle. So the 4 opponents that he'll face will be like ghosts from coming back from his past and shit. Yeah. Let's see, what else is on the list here? Tag team matches. Okay, so let's take a look at all the tag team matches. All right, so I got tag team match, 20-minute time limit, 30-minute time limit, tag team cage match. Tag team cage match that's 2 out of 3 falls with a 60-minute time limit, which probably means that this one only has a 30-minute time limit. A tag team Iron Man match that's 60 minutes long, and of course the very popular tag team Iron Man table match, it's only 20 minutes, and then of course your typical tag team street fight. You want a little tip from me as far as like how to make your tag team street fights that much more fighty and streety? Street clothes. Put them in jeans. You know, like, man, like, I always think about Starrcade 90, Doom versus Arn Anderson and Barry Windham, and Arn Anderson and Barry Windham showed up in, like, jeans and cut-off T-shirts with knee pads over the jeans, cowboy boots and shit, like this is how they normally dress on a fucking Tuesday when they manage to finish their loop over the weekend and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? On a visual level and stuff like that, man, that will go such a long way. Tape their fucking fists up. You know, like they were like, all right, well, since we're not wrestling tonight, then you're going to be like, all right, 2 guys fucking prepared for a fight, you know? I mean, look at Alhambra Guesa, right? He goes out there and shit. He's got the Word Life knuckle fucking dusters on all the time because he's the hooligan homeboy. That's his fucking style, right? But yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's all in the presentation and shit like that. So if everyone's going out there and just doing things that are breaking the rules in their fucking, you know, their man panties and stuff like that, and their knee pads and their kick pads and stuff like that, well, is it really a street fight? No, it's just a no rules match, you know? So if you're going to call it a street fight, add some street to it, you know? You know, if you grew up in a favela in Brazil or some shit like that, and you got into a scrap with somebody, you ain't going home and putting on your fucking wrestling gi. You know what I'm saying? You're not going home and putting on a singlet. Then again, like a tables match, that's a little bit different. Yeah, those types of things are really like a wrestling convention. Like street fights exist in real life. Like, people aren't going out there and settling their disputes in a fucking barroom brawl. I mean, you might put someone through a fucking table, but putting someone through a table doesn't necessarily mean that the fight has to stop. Oh, shit. Down here, trios. Let's look at the trios stuff. Okay, so I got 4 trios matches saved here. I got a trios cell, a trios ladder match, a trios normal 60-minute match, and a trios street fight. Tornado. Okay, and that's basically about what I need, considering the number of trios matches that I normally do and stuff, you know? I mean, it's about just about every scenario here, outside of maybe, like, special guest referee. War games, of course, war games. I'll show you. I've got war games set up 4-on-4. I don't know why anybody would do a 3-on-3 or whatever, except for like brevity. But why would you want a war games match to not be epic? I gotta wonder about this right here. Like, man, like I suppose if I've never turned this on, I've only had like maybe 2 or 3 War Games matches so far. I try to save them for something special. But I suppose maybe if I change this here and stuff like that, it would at least present visually a different finish to the match than just a pin or submission. So I guess I'll turn that on and see what happens. Entrance intervals. So in real life, it's a 5-minute opener and then 2 to 3 minutes for everyone else afterwards. At least that was the Sting Squadron Dangerous Alliance match, WCW in '92. That was a fucking awesome War Games match. Arn Anderson hits fucking Steamboat. He hits the fucking ring. And this is another one of those intervals fucking matches and shit like that. This is what might be one of those ones where I might be open to, yeah, I was open to it right here. Fucking turn the finishers on, dude. Yeah, fucking, they get in the ring. You want them to be a house of fire, right? It's a new person. What do you want him to do? Fucking, ding, ding, ding. He fucking goes down the steps, walks all that way in a dramatic way to finally enter. Puts 3 fucking weapons into the ring, goes in there, ties up side headlock. Yeah, fuck you. Don't think so. Hit a fucking finisher, fucking blow up the fucking ring. Let's go. It's War Games. Time to explode. I really like the idea of a War Games with a lot of tables in the ring and stuff because, I mean, to me, the AI has a predilection for wanting to dive off the top of the cage. And, man, those big spots are yum, 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 yummy in my tummy. I love that shit. And if you could do that and it also involved, like, blowing up a fucking table at the same time, big brother, I gotta tell you, I'm into it. But light tubes, barbed wire, Janice, yeah, we're fucking unleashing the fury here. The only one here I might change is maybe the chair. What else we got here? The sledgy, the stop sign, man. See, the megaphone, the microphone, fuck that shit. I am not into that shit because when them shits is sitting on the fucking mat or whatever, there's like a little like feedback sound or whatever that they make. No thanks. No thanks. The fucking road cone. Yeah, I'm not into the apple. The urn, I'm not that bad upon or whatever and stuff, right? I am thinking about maybe doing like a Shaq versus Tom Brady match where the only weapons in the match are a football and a basketball. And maybe Janice too. I don't know. Or maybe the fucking... give me an excuse to use the severed arm again and to make it a complete and fucking total comedy match. Yeah. I think I'll... yeah, let's do that right now. We'll make it knockouts only, right? But they're the only weapons they're gonna get in this shit is these guys get 20 minutes. They get 20 minutes to knock each other the fuck out. Now, if you do like a solo knockout match, by the way, a solo knockout. Oh man, just like sports weapons, hockey stick. I didn't even consider the hockey stick. Baseball bat, football. This is the fucking stupidest shit ever. Nah, you know what? I mean, if it's Tom Brady versus Shaq or whatever and stuff, it should just be footballs and basketballs. Yeah. Or they could just, I mean, maybe it just is like a weird thing they could have. Like, oh, that's weird. Hockey stick. Tom Brady got a hockey stick? Does he know how to use that shit? It'd be like, Shaq has a bat. Shaq doesn't need to know how to use a bat. Shaq will just hit you with the bat. And otherwise, they can just throw footballs and basketballs at each other. This is the greatest, worst idea ever. Yeah, so I'm going to have to go fucking... I got Shaq. Well, Shaq's already... So we'll call it the sports ball match. By the way, I don't know if this is ever going to happen or not, right? But I've been working it out with some of my friends. Years ago, Ryan Doyle, he was my roommate for many years. He, on his PlayStation 2, had like a Madden game or whatever. And so we cast we made a football team with nothing but members of the MVWF. And then one member of the MVWF, a guy named Rock Hawley, who would probably suck Tom Brady's dick if he'd let him. And we gave all the MVWF guys like maximum attribute points, except for a few exceptions or whatever and shit like, right? We were awfully prone to injury, let's just put it that way. What is it? Right? But we put Rock Hawley on the Patriots to be the quarterback, also with maximum attribute points, while the rest of the Patriots just had whatever they had. So here it is, the Manchester Sniz, as we were called, absolutely obliterated the New England Patriots in spite of the most spirited fucking quarterback performance by Rock Hawley, who would leap into the air with his maximum attribute points the entire height of the as however tall the linebackers were. Rock Hawley would jump that high and long ball that shit to nobody, because nobody could get fucking past our defense. There was a guy named Terry who was on the team, got injured on the first play. But of course, he had maximum prone to injury fucking sliders and shit like that. It was a fucking hilarious game. And boy, we're looking to do that again. And I'm just so not a football guy. Like, to hear, it's going to be funny. I mean, when I'm talking about them pressing for a 9-pointer off a full court press, in the end zone or whatever and shit like that. When I sound like I don't know what I'm going to talk about, that's still the kind of commentary I'm going to do. Don't get me wrong. But ultimately and stuff, I just have not been that comfortable with trying to get the details of can I make a fucking created team, my own stadium, do I have the same kind of character creating facilities that I have on these wrestling games? And if I can get that, I don't care. I will go and I will fucking drop money, even if I only ever do it the one fucking time. It'll make for such an interesting, fun episode of MVWF or whatever and shit like that. Oh, you're looking for some highlights and some funny moments of the MVWF? All right, here, I'll tell you a story. Going back to the GameCube, Alex Kindbud versus Starman. The Starman from pro wrestling in the 80s and shit. Starman went on a fucking run, brother. I love those fucking characters with all my fucking black heart. And the MVWF had only ever really made the achievement of doing a best of 7 series one time back on the 64. And it was just one of those things we were too afraid to touch again and shit like that, because if you go and you announce it, from the beginning or whatever and stuff, the fucking game won't give it to you, you know what I mean? So we just never did it, because again, if you're gonna have a best of 7, and you sweep them, in 4, that's not fun, or if it's 4 to 1, it's you wasted your time doing a best of 7. And the one best of 7 series we'd had at that point went to the 7th match. Fucking dramatic. Exactly the way you want it to be. So we did Alex Kindbud versus the Starman. Best of 7. And thank fucking Flair, it went to 7. And then in the 7th match, The most amazing thing happened that to this day, I cannot explain how this happened. It's the 7th match of a long series of matches. And we'd had a couple of them on the very same show that very day. And they're going on about maybe 20, 22 minutes in. They're having another fucking epic, you know? It's all on the fucking line. And it spills outside the ring. And the game started doing something that it didn't do very much, which was the brawl was actually making its way up the entrance ramp. And in those days, if there was a run-in, the game, you had no control over it. The game just randomly decided to choose who it decided to choose for the run-in. There was nothing that you could set up like the way that I was just explaining a little while ago about, like, you know, with the Bloodline Rules thing, and you know, your allies and tag team partners and managers and factions and being associated with each other to give the AI a reason and a motivation to choose the right people. Well, the choice that the GameCube made randomly is that even if you were to think of it as random, you could not think of it as such, because a second Starman ran down and got involved, and there were 2 Starmen fighting Alex Kindbud on my screen. And I shit you not. Yes, I was probably high at the moment, at that point, but I lost track of which Starman was which Starman, and they both, and then the Renin ran its course, and Starman went away, and then Alex Kindbud and Starman got spilled back inside the ring. Small package, 1, 2, 3 pin. Like a complete, like, think of like the Killer Bees move of like jumping Jim Brunzell and B. Brian Blair or whatever and stuff like that. And they would do that sort of shit, but it was like they did that shit in the moment where everything was on the line. Now, let me clarify one specific detail, and this is all. Again, I can't prove it to you, but because the GameCube is long gone. In in amongst all of the created wrestlers, there was only one Starman. What ran out into that ring was the already existing Starman, like on like a technical glitchy level here of what we're talking about in this moment, right? I suppose that like the MVWF. Oh, so let me fix this here. My iPad's fucking up right now. All right. I mean, I actually have all of the original Nintendo characters in my library of created wrestlers. I always have them. I don't always use them. And I did do a VWA reunion show a few years ago. And, you know, Amazon, Giant Panther, King Slender, Fighter Hayabusa, Great Puma. I was even, like, going to do, like, the Final Fight guys, like Mike Hagar and stuff like that. Like, I've watched, like, a bunch of, like, YouTube videos to kind of remind myself of, like, all of the famous wrestling games and the characters that are on them and stuff like that. And I thought about maybe doing, like, an old school festival. But the problem is that, like, if you're talking about something on, like, any of, like, the old Sega systems or some shit like that in any of those wrestling games, I don't know shit from Shinola, you know? But yeah, I've got all those guys on there. What was I talking about before that? I was telling stories. Yeah, so yeah, there was no second Starman. Like, I mean, yeah, if I had just duplicated Starman and created a second Starman, that potentially, I could see that how that could have happened. But being that there was only the one Starman, and that Starman was already assigned to being in the ring, I don't understand how the fuck that happened, bro. And then to have it also be like lightning striking in just the right spot for it to be the deciding factor in another another otherwise great best of 7 series for only like the second time and stuff like that was just two chef's kiss to not to forget, man. I'll never forget that shit. We had a fucking match again. Alex Kindbud against the Cat Burglar, Lenny Roberts. Cat Burglar, Lenny Roberts was part of the MVWO, one of Dan Crane's guys. And they were having Iron Man matches have been the kind of thing that I've always been super hesitant about or whatever. I've always been super gun-shy about using them, so for the longest time I would only go like a half an hour, because an hour is too long. Now, the few hour-long Iron Man matches I've had here in the MVWF have been pretty good fucking matches, don't get me wrong, and one of them is one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. But the champion in this situation was the Cat Burglar, Lenny Roberts, and the challenger was Alex Kindbud. And the score, with only seconds left on the clock, was 7-6. And Alex Kindbud, who had the 7, and Cat Burglar, Lenny Roberts, who had the 6, who was the defending champion, locks Alex Kindbud in an abdominal stretch after a grueling, fucking amazing match they'd had, because that 64 really could some fucking match when it wanted to. And for an excruciatingly, probably like with 13 seconds left in the time limit. And one of the great things about the 64 game is that the clock actually went forward from 0 to the time limit rather than the backwards countdown that it normally does. It did a count up, which I always preferred that rather than, but again, small things. But yeah, and as the fucking bell rang, Alex tapped to the abdominal stretch. The score on the screen read 7-7. And all of a sudden, but the music that played was Alex Kindbud's music. The game had decided that Alex Kindbud had won that fucking match. But the score clearly said 7-7 on the screen. And a tie means the champion retains. But the game thought that the score perhaps maybe was still 7-6. We had no fucking idea what to do. But I shit you not, like, it wasn't until, I want to say, it was EWF's Backlash, like, a couple weeks ago. The show after WrestleMania that I did with Beast. There's a match that ends almost in the same fucking way. Where, only this one was a little bit more definitive, but the tap was happening as the clock ran out. But the champion ended up retaining, in that scenario or whatever. And it was like the first time I'd seen anything like it, going back to, I want to say, probably 2001.
Most of the music on the radio or TV that I like the news because I really couldn't understand.
Yeah, brother. That shit was fucking crazy. All right. Well, that's going to do it for me tonight. I talked a whole lot today about getting high and how to create matches to get most performance. Well, I'm going to go eat a couple more animals. Whoa, this is bread and bones. Oh, prime time. You kidding me, brother? I got a shitload of them. A shitload of them. There used to be... Here, I'll give you one more before I go. There was a stretch there, and I even mentioned this on EWF recently, when Mark Zaleski, the sensei, uses the shooting star press. He's a big Journey fan, so we call it the Steve Perry Press. His Cobra Kai thing, his whole 80s thing. He's a couple years older than me. I'm 51. But anyhow, he uses a Shooting Star Press, and he started off his introduction into the MVWF is that a lot of times I would do kind of like a Japanese style booking where if you were kind of new to the Federation, he was a late joiner, especially in the N64 days, and he became a main eventer in the GameCube games later on. But he was part of a tag team with a guy, Ron Supreme, who was a guy who wrestled in a suit. And he had a Terminator arm. And you knew he had a Terminator arm because he had a glove on his right hand, just the way Arnold Schwarzenegger did when he put his leather jacket back on when he ripped the skin off his hand in Terminator 2. And then they didn't have to have his fucking metal robot hand showing all the time, right? And that's, and so he gave Ron Supreme a whole lot of, like, clotheslines and choke slams and, anything that would make that fucking Terminator arm look fucking powerful and shit, right? And so Selesky was brought in, and they were going to be the men in suits, right? So he had a different color suit that he would wear, and he also still had them fucking curly-toed iron cheek boots that he wore, which was kind of like the seed being planted that, this tag team may not actually, turn out like a little visual clue, right? But I shit you not, like, the game gave me exactly what I needed it to, right? Because they were having a tag team match. Ron Supreme had a cover on his opponent when Selesky, for no fucking reason, went to the top rope, did a Shooting Star Press, landed right on the back of Ron Awesome's head and neck. Now, there were certain things that would happen back in the 64 days. We did have a rule book of things that we had to follow and shit like that, and that was definitely something that qualified as an injury angle right there, right? I will have you know that SmackDown was on Fridays and at that time period as well. I want to say around 2003 or 4. And Paul London and Billy Kidman did the same fucking angle. Shooting Star Press, back of the head, injured your tag team partner in doing so, no more than a week fucking later. Now, that's the story of it right there. But, I mean, you want to talk about a fucking coincidence. I'll give you one more coincidence, and this one I actually can prove. I would have to go through the... because this happened actually in Phase 2 since I've been on YouTube. But I had a match called a Fight Pit match several months before NXT did. And it's a cage match that's knockout submissions only. That was by intention supposed to be a shout-out callback to the Lion's Den match that Ken Shamrock had with like fucking like Owen Hart at SummerSlam back in the day. And again, I don't remember the fucking date off the top of my head, but if I could find the fucking episode where I did that first one, and then you see the date that NXT did their first one, way before them. I knew what wrestling needed right there in that moment. And I decided that wrestling needed a cage match that was submissions and knockouts only. With the only main difference being is that, of course, I can't say it's an entire one-for-one because they actually have, that platform, like up above on the cage or whatever. That's the real shout out to the Lion's Den thing or whatever, because the Lion's Den had that shit. But yeah, but still, like, I can definitively prove that that was my idea. I had that idea before they did, or at least before they fucking ever announced the idea that they had it. Hey, what's up, Gig? Yeah, Gig, if you forgive me, I don't know a lot about you, or even if you have your own eFed yourself or whatever, but I've done a few series of streams here where I've talked about kind of like digging into, analyzing the game engine, and this episode was more specific towards creating matches and stuff like that, right? And, you know, just a little quick highlight, like I always give, like, starting finishers and stuff like that in, like, Rumble, Gauntlet, you know, Battle Royal type stuff or whatever. Because, like, when you've got, like, a staggered entrance sort of thing, and you could probably do this for, like, a War Games, too, as you're staggering the entrances and shit like that, you know, everybody wants to come in, make a splash, big boom, right, you know? And so if it's like a Battle Royal, like a Rumble or something like that, and they immediately get eliminated afterwards, at least they got to have a moment, you know? Now everyone's back. I was just about to sign off. But yeah, so yeah, go ahead and rewind this one if you want, like, because if you this particular episode was mostly focused on creating matches and stuff like that, and my philosophy for the different kinds of formats for matches and stuff. Oh, well, the EWF logos and stuff is that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to your arena for my next episode. No, it's not going to be the next episode. It's going to be the episode after next. Here in the calendar and shit. At least I think so, yeah. See, I got this episode. I got the pay-per-view. The next show is Supremacy. And then down over here and stuff, I'm going to visit the EWF arena. And, in fact, actually, one of the things I was thinking about doing is just like, all right, well, why don't I just do a fucking episode of Mayhem? And I counted the number of active members in the EWF that I currently have on saved on my game. I have 17 characters right now. And I would... Don't do a show of Mayhem, okay. All right, so in that case then, what I'll do then is that I'll go over to the arena and shit like that, and I'll modify it a little bit, and I'll put some MVWF stuff on there to really make it look like it's just the MVWF visiting. But that's not the next show. The next show is Supremacy. I don't know. I'm just I'm a little afraid. I'm afraid that you're gonna like go without your show or whatever thing, man. I know you're kind of like short shrifting it with like, you know, episode bites, you know, because your PS4 I think tries to like sprout propellers and fly away. It's like a fucking helicopter's in your room. But I'm just thinking, like, if you can use me as a backup or some shit like that, we got to figure out a way to, if I were to screen share with you, to get you to be a bit louder or whatever and stuff like that. So if anyone's got a suggestion for that or whatever, and should drop me a dime on that or whatever, because like, man, because I felt like I could hear you just fine in my headset, but as far as how well you were being heard through the broadcast and stuff like that, it wasn't that great. How did I come through so well? Because I know like my microphone was popping a whole lot or whatever, but yeah. I wonder if there's do you think there might be an option on my end? Yeah, but I sound good because I'm on the primary microphone. But I'm trying to think about like being that if Beast is on his phone or using a PlayStation, to how I can boost his mic so that his voice is at least somewhat equal to mine. Because quite frankly, I think with what we were talking about the other day, Beast, about like some of the criticisms that Blaze had for some of the episodes that I was on your channel, valid though they may be or whatever, I was like, shit, I don't know, man. Like I didn't know. I don't know anything more that I could do beyond like raising my voice just to get myself to even be heard. If I do solo season, I can find you there.
That's when they be rolling spliffs.
Welcome to KFC. My name is Kevin. Right now we are featuring the new crispy Caesar Twister and a medium drink for only $2.99. Go ahead and order whenever you are ready.
Got some spicy beets in there?
Spicy chicken, spicy veggie, or original?
No, I want some funky beets.
I can't even understand what you're saying.
Nowhere to run for safety.
Okay. All right, I will look him up. But yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing here a little bit. Of course, I got a lot of EWF characters on my game right now. Are you gonna try to do a show today? Fuck yeah, I'll be there. Man, I wasn't really looking towards buying 2K26. I mean, some of the production stuff I've been hearing about, being able to do like little animations and stuff during entrances and shit is intriguing to me. Because again, one of the things I'm after is trying to reduce repetition. Ooh, I got Jockey. That's the guy that Jeremy beat up a couple weeks ago, didn't he? Yeah. I mean, I've got no doubt in my mind that if I were to buy 2K26, the game engine, the tweaking that I've got, I mean, again, all this analysis that I've done in these streams and stuff like that, and poring over it and trying to get the performance out of the game and stuff like that, I'm confident that 2K26 will still allow me to continue to do a lot of that. It's a goddamn shame that I've had to spend as much money and effort on, getting what I got out of this and stuff like that. Now now that I feel like I've got 2K25 figured out, now I'm about to jettison it and get a new game. That being said, like 3 Stages of Hell doesn't really do much for me. And unless there's something that really about the Inferno match that makes it appear like very much more threatening than it's been or whatever, because man, it seemed like fucking like those flames wouldn't melt ice cream and shit, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, honestly, they should really do something, to, at least for a few moments, make it damn near horrific. And then have an animation at the end or like a cutscene where, the ringside crew hits you with the fucking, fire extinguishers or some shit like that. Yeah, you know what? And the dumpster match is just a reskin of the casket match, which is basically a reskin of the ambulance match. It's all basically the same coding that they're using, that they're basically just duplicating and recycling and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily hate that entirely, because I do like the idea of doing something visually different, so that if you're having that kind of match or whatever, I would definitely space them far apart, so that you're not doing them like every fucking, like if you do a casket match on one show and a dumpster match on another show. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I mean, so I'm saying that like they're novelties. Like in a booking year, if you're going to end up like buying the next year's annual game anyway and stuff like that, you're probably only going to use those matches like for your EFED. At a maximum 3 times, I mean, and even that's almost like too many times. Twice, at most, And you certainly wouldn't, like, do something that was like a rematch of something with it or whatever, You wouldn't do, like, 2 in a row. But you can see them being kind of cheap in that respect, right? The variety of weapons wasn't even worth me going through a lot of the island to even go get and stuff like that, because ultimately they were just like rescans of each other. Other than that other, the only lament is I would have liked to have had that other sledgehammer animation, because that shit where it sparked and shit like that, and they swung it like it looked like it was gonna murder somebody. That shit was dope. Like, I like that, right? And outside of that, like, none of the other stuff. Like, I don't need like another trash can lid that's only it's black, you know, or you know what I mean, like. I got the light tubes. I got Janice. I got my fucking money's worth out of that. You know, a barbed wire chair would be kind of nice. Because, man, you could basically, if you wanted to clone like a Game Changer wrestling show and stuff like that, you've got the fucking weapons for it. The only thing you really can't do is just take a bunch of light tubes and make like a fort out of it to fall through. Man, the blood is getting so much better and stuff like that. I mean, you're out there. I mean, man, that ambulance match that I had to cut off after about like 75 minutes and shit between Dennis and Jeremy Love, there was blood everywhere. Oh my God! Like, you can have a gory ass match now, man, and. I'm interested in the thumbtacks. The old thumbtacks, as they've been portrayed, looking like a blanket of something that isn't even really like sticking to them and shit like that. That is gonna really have to work right and look painful. But if there's more animations when you get slammed on things like, you know, the stairs or a chair or something like that, or landing on a ladder and stuff like that, and they react differently, that's good quality of life as far as e-fedding goes. Primetime says most characters back in the day, back to the SmackDown vs. Raw WWE series, Ruthless Aggression, Monday Night Wars, not all major WCW wrestlers not going to be in, like Sting, Nature Boy, Arn Anderson, and others. And you know what, though? But for me, Primetime, as far as like the roster that they put on there of existing wrestlers, dude, it means nothing to me. Nothing to me other than whatever fucking unique moves they might add to the moveset for me to choose from for my own roster. I mean, I've been guilty of using Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan over the years and stuff like that. Ricky Steamboat over the years. I do use some real wrestlers now and then, you know, but again, usually there's reason for it or whatever, right? Like, and I don't do it often. And Flair is a creative guy right now that's on my roster, but I haven't used him in a long time because he had another nice thing going there for a little while. But so yeah, so like outside of like what these additional characters add to animations that I can select through to create the variety, have the most, you know, colors to paint with. I mean, that's all it really means to me. The 200 slots, don't know if it's really going to mean anything to me because the 100 slots has never really been something that's been a problem for me, you know. I mean, 2K22 had to put me in a fucking chokehold one time, so did 2K23 or whatever, where the fucking game just crashed. And, like, it almost like it seemed like some of the earlier games would put a barrier on you. It's like, well, look, you can't add any more images or create any more characters for this, otherwise, you know, the game's going to crash. So it didn't let you do anything further, right? Well, somewhere around, like, 2K22, 2K23, like, those reins were off, and you could fucking download as much as you want until you made the fucking game crash. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Jamar, what's up, buddy? So, like, in fact, part of the shit I was working on before I even went live here and stuff like that was, I went through the image deletion, and I deleted everything that I didn't need or was using and stuff like that, right? So, or I'd already used, assuming that I could still have it or whatever and stuff, because, you know, I guess some of the arenas that I have are still somewhat attached to the calendar or something like that. That's keeping me from deleting all of those images necessarily, but that's fine. And another thing I'm doing is that I'm just basically keeping a rotation of like maybe 6-7 arenas going. Hey, Beast, take it easy, buddy. All right. I'll be off here in a few minutes anyway. I know I've been saying that for like the last 20 minutes, but more thoughts keep coming to mind. But yeah, but for any of you that might have joined a little bit late, go ahead and check out some of that analysis and some of the that match building analysis that I did earlier or whatever. When to use the starting finishers and shit like that. Man, that'll make a Rumble or a fucking Gauntlet match go really fucking good for you, brother. But anyway, I am Brandon Bones. I am not Damon Andrews today. I am in my best behavior, and I'm high as shit, and I'm ready to go. So, all right, folks, thank you for joining. I enjoyed talking to you, and talking at you, and leaving this here as a little time capsule here as we strive for a better e-fitting situation. Peace. Cool.